You're listening to League Podcasts, a special episode, our interview with Terry Moore, Eisner Award winner, Reuben Award winner, Harvey Award winner twice, and GLAAD Award winner, and creator of Strangers in Paradise, Rachel Rising, Echo, and
Motor Girl.
What
are the other books he has
Parker Girls.
On? There was one that was a new thing that it's like a graphic novel, maybe?
Yeah, he had something called Ever, which was like a self-contained one-shot graphic novel. He's done how to draw books, which are they're how to draw, but they're kind of more like almost inspirational. It's not technical. It's like, this is how you get into the frame of mind to draw.
Yeah. If you already know how to draw and, you want to, you're right. It's like the psychology of how to draw beautiful is one of them, right?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. How to draw beautiful, how to draw funny, how to draw women. It's not like this is, take the pen and do this, but it's, so there's interesting there. And he's currently working on Parker Girls, which is a spinoff of Strangers in Paradise. And
kind of like spy espionage thing. Yeah.
Sort of like Red Room stuff. Very interesting. He'll talk a lot about it. And he talks about his Kickstarter, which he is very excited / nervous about, for his art book called After Dark. And that's coming February 1st to Kickstarter.
So that's Wednesday, February 1st.
Wednesday, as we record this.
On his social media and stuff, that's when we're going to reveal all the tiers and whatnot. Is Wednesday, February 1st.
You can do a thing on Kickstarter where you can start to follow the project even before it launches. So I highly recommend you
do that.
You go over to Kickstarter right now, even if it's before the 1st, but it might not be. But depending on when we get this out. February 1st,
it'll be run, definitely in the show notes, wherever you get your podcasts.
It's going to run all through February, so please.
And plus a couple extra days because February is a short month.
Yeah, but it's going to run all through February and a little bit of March, and help Terry out. This is his first Kickstarter. But even if you're not in the frame of mind or financially able to donate, you should listen to this interview because it's so interesting. If you have any love of comics or just stories about women or stories in general, he talks about where he gets his inspiration. He talks about like how he came up with certain ideas. It's really fun. He's one of my favorite people. His comics are great.
He is definitively your guy. When I think of Terry Moore, I think of you, and I fondly remember us visiting his table more than one time. And he's always so gracious and cool. And he was so gracious and cool when we talked to him today for the podcast. So for the exclusive podcast, he's not really doing many interviews. So if you're here because you are a fan of Terry's and you want to subscribe to our podcast, please do. We were just really happy to talk to him, and it's really, he's a living legend as far as creators are concerned and creators' rights and holding on to your shit. You need to own your shit. We don't really talk about it that much, but this is a prime example of holding on to your rights and self-publishing. And now this is a new kind of self-publishing for him.
It is
his first Kickstarter.
His first Kickstarter. So it's true. Like he talks about, he did some work for Marvel and DC, and then he went right back to doing his own stuff because that's what he really loves to do. And you got to give and props for that.
And he's not like one of those creators that's like, I'll never do that again. He's just like, if the price is right, they offer him a short run on a book. Right. He's open to it, but he's not a mainstream comic guy, and to ultimately own your stuff, make your own money, it's the way to go. It's the American dream, the American comics dream. This guy, people should talk about Terry Moore way more than they do.
I agree. He is, when you think about it, he's been doing this for most of his adult life. He started Stranger Paradise in '93, and he's still going. He said he took a couple weeks off. Basically, after Strangers in Paradise ended, and then he got right back to it. So It's a great interview. Thanks, Clay, for coming on. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget, check us out everywhere where you get your podcasts. And here's Terry Moore.
I don't think I've confused it with the book. I mean, I really think I've heard of the podcast. How long has this been going, your podcast?
Forever.
That's why I've heard of it.
Yeah, this is the first time we've been on a long time, and I've always wanted to have you as a guest. And this seemed like the perfect time because now you're doing this Kickstarter and. Oh
yeah, I got so much stuff going on.
That's actually kind of where I wanted to. Can I ask you this? I was looking at. Of course, I've been a fan for a long time. I wish I could say I go all the way back to the beginning, but I started to think has this guy ever taken a break? You started Strangers in Paradise in '93, right?
Yeah.
And then that went, a quick overview, 3 issues with Antarctic, which was your own imprint, 13 issues, volume 2, and then Start Again, volume 3, number 1, and then you did 90. And then other things like Molly and Pooh and all this, and then you did Echo. You did some work for Marvel. You done some work for DC. Have you ever taken a break? It's insane.
No, the closest I ever came was when I finished Strangers in Paradise after 13 years on it, on a 4-week or 6-week schedule. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to take a year and do other things. So I took a week off, and then Robin said, well, we have bills to pay. So I called Joe Quesada at Marvel and said, I'm looking for projects. And he said, I'll call you back. He called back that afternoon and gave me those 2 books that I wrote.
Yeah. Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Right? And Runaways.
Right? Yeah. And then other stuff happened, other people too. So I stayed busy the rest of the year working on other stuff. And I think I took 8 months to do that, just work on other projects and other people.
There's even some Buffy in there, I think, right?
Buffy was, that's when I did a lot of miscellany. And then I thought, I need to do my own story. That's just what I'm wired to do. So I went back and started up another series, and it was Echo. And then I've been just doing that ever since, my own stuff ever since.
It's incredible. I have to say, too, I don't know. I'm sure people are aware, but yeah, all of your series are sort of female protagonists, but they're all so different. To me, Rachel Rising came after Echo. That's kind of horror. Echo is kind of sci-fi sort of oriented. Obviously, Strangers in Paradise is kind of like a lot of people call it slice of life dramedy. It's kind of a love story, obviously, and it's crazy. They're so diverse, but there's kind of the theme, like you said, the strong females, and it's really incredible. People wonder how a man, can write women so well. That's always the thing when you talk about Terry Moore. How do you do it?
I am a weird recipe. What makes me up is weird. I grew up with a sister just a year and a half younger than me, and we were best friends all through life. So I had my sister. I was watching my sister's life and what she went through, right? And I'm her best pal, and she tells me every day what went right, what went wrong. So I'm aware of it, right? So when I start dating, I start seeing girls the way my sister taught me to see girls, don't do any damage, don't hurt, don't be a jerk. I'm seeing that stuff. And then I be a jerk, and then I feel terrible for it. And then my sister talks me through it, and all that. And my dad's working all the time, and my mom's at home, and I adore my mom because she's the one who's always there. So now I'm loyal to my mom and my sister that I grew up with. And then I got married at 20.
Oh, wow.
We've been married. I've been married my whole life. So I see my wife go out every day and try again, and the good and the bad. So I'm just extremely aware. So on top of all this, I really like women. I mean, when I'm the kind of guy that when I watched movies, I fell in love with the actress every single time. And so I like romantic songs, like everything Greg Allman ever did with the Allman Brothers Band and everything. My favorite song is the one love song that he wrote, which was Queen of Hearts, So that's just how I'm wired. I fell in love with every major actress. And so now when it was time for me to write a story, I have to tell you one more fact. So I put that on the shelf. Okay. Now I'm woman-centric, and I have the male gaze all the time, and I feel guilty about it. On the other side, I played sports in high school. And because I was fast, and we all played soccer and football and baseball and everything. And so I had a lot of time around guys and locker rooms and stuff like that. And, there was always that one guy in high school who was the first one with the beard. Who was hairy and a bear and all that. That guy grossed me out in the shower. Okay, so I have that in my head. And when it's time for me to do comics, all I really care about is the girlfriend. I don't care about the guy that's dating the girl. I care about the girlfriend, And what is it like when she leaves the guy's house and she goes home, talks to her best friend? You have my full attention. If now I'm going to follow the guy and watch him go to the bar and talk shit with his friend, and say, I don't know. I don't care. I know how that conversation goes. I don't care. Also, because of my locker room and sports and all that, I don't want to spend my whole life with a male character and having to draw that guy's body and his butt. And I have our little convention panel rant about why I draw women, and I make a joke of it and say, if I had to choose between drawing Batman's butt the rest of my life or Kachu's butt, I would rather draw Kachu's butt.
Yeah.
To hell with Batman's butt. And that's kind of how I just boiled it down. But it's a shortcut way to say that my heart is with what women go through on this planet. And having watched it go from, I was born in the 50s. So I've seen come and go, free love, everybody's sleeping with everybody, and then the 80s when everybody's mad about it and because they're all getting jerked around, and then 90s where people realize, what just happened to them last decade, and now you're holding everybody accountable. Little girls grow up, my friend, all that kind of stuff, and look you straight in the eye someday. That kind of stuff was always on my mind. It went from being a romantic to these beautiful creatures walking this planet full of predators. What is their story?
Well, it's kind of, if people who don't know what Strangers in Paradise is about, it's sort of a love triangle with Francine, Kachu, and David. And it was obviously a lot different for, in the comics world, but also you won a GLAAD award in 2001 for Best Comic, and obviously won many awards as well. But a GLAAD award is, that's, I don't know, if that were me, I'd feel pretty good about that one.
That one, I never thought about that side of life. Never worried about it. But I had a first cousin that was exactly my age, named Ben, and he was gay. And when the AIDS epidemic hit, Ben moved from Arkansas out to San Francisco to be a baker, a dessert baker. I don't know what the term for that is. They make desserts at a chef that makes desserts. There's a term for it. He went to the school and then got jobs and all that. But then, unfortunately, like early 80s, he was one of the first AIDS victims. And we lost him. Well, that hung with me for years. I felt so bad for him about it, and it just wasn't fair. The guy was finally happy and finally learning to accept himself and then, have a life. And boom. So when I started the comic, all this, I brought everything I could to the comic. Instead of thinking, I'm going to do one story, one idea, and do a genre, I was so afraid of not having any success at all that I just threw the kitchen sink at it. I threw every idea I had. So it was my female-centric story ideas and what's it like to be gay and female and all this stuff. And it's so weird because I'm a middle-aged straight white guy writing this story about people who are not me, but I'm writing it. I never say it's me. I always write it from I'm watching and this is what I see. This is what I've seen the people I care about go through. And it gives you a slightly different take than if somebody is writing their own story in a way, and the characters are their avatars. I have more of a journalistic point of view. I'm the third guy in the room that is not a factor at all. But I'm the one who saw it. And a lot of great movies are made with that observer character that is just showing somebody else. Somebody is showing the couple story in Casablanca. It's not Rick telling it. It's not Eliza or whatever her name is telling it. It's somebody else is watching and telling it. So you don't have to be Humphrey Bogart or Ingrid Bergman to get that story. Right? So that's how I gave myself a license to do this and carry on. And I think what I tried to do was just always write with respect and love. And if you have that mindset, you can talk about anything. That's true. That's how I wrote the stories. I addressed everything that we ever talk about. And I just did it from the side of, we care about these people. It's as if it happens to your sister or your best friend, and you really care. So that's how I approach the story.
Well, I think it definitely works. One thing I sort of coming off of that, something I was moved by was Motor Girl, which was a 10-issue series. I bought it for Clay, I think, for Christmas a couple years ago. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I very much love that.
But she is a veteran who is dealing with like post-traumatic stress and is talking to this gorilla who, but when you find out, like, I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, like, the history and where that came from, it's to me, it was heart-wrenching, but like, what a great, I love that series. Thank you. Thank you for giving it to me.
That's Robin's favorite story. And that is, again, a movie buff who loved the Jimmy Stewart movie Harvey, where the man who's had a breakdown and now has a best friend who's a 6-foot rabbit. And we never see him in the movie, but Jimmy talks to him the whole movie. And Harvey is important. Jimmy's a changed man. The rabbit is important. And you have to deal with the rabbit if you're going to get to Jimmy. So there was a story there that I saw it as a kid, and so it stayed with me. And then there you get every comic strip almost had an invisible friend, the magical side to Snoopy, Calvin and Hobbes comes to life. So you take those stories and you combine them with Hurt Locker. Boom, you have.
Yeah.
And, I lived through the Vietnam War. So my friends went off and got drafted and came back and they changed, and I've watched every war since then. Desert Storm and all the other stuff. People go and some of them come back and they're changed because they've seen something that is not the way life should be. And it's hard to go on. Yeah. But Motor Girl is slightly different where she has all that going on. Plus, she can't accept losing something that she lost over there. There was something very important lost over there. She can't accept it. The mission's not over until she can accept that. So that's why she won't do what it takes to get rid of the problem until she can handle the consequences of this means I'm going to lose my last contact with that kid. So there's a deeper story there, you know. And what I really cared about there was not the dramatic symptoms and all that other stuff. What I cared about was how frickin' brave she is.
Absolutely.
First of all, she went there and did her job. Second of all, she won't stop doing it until she feels like the mission is accomplished. And it's not. When she gets back and she's in the junkyard, mission is not accomplished. So all this stuff is going on. She's trying to deal with it. It's like trying to deal with a brain tumor or something. And she hangs in there and fights like a Marine. And it was my way of like giving hugs to all those the vets that I meet at cons and stuff like that. There was one vet that wrote to me from, he was in the initial Desert Storm, and I was doing Strangers in Paradise, and he wrote me a fan letter and said, I'm reading Strangers in Paradise in that guy's mansion, Saddam Hussein. When they took over Hussein. He was in the group that was there and occupied it and controlled it, and he wrote, they had downtime, and he had his comic, and he'd gotten from Germany and wrote me a letter. So then when he's discharged, he ends up in Chicago, and he comes to introduce himself at C2E2. And so I saw him the first year he was back, and then I saw him every year after that. And the first year he was back, man, he was still like, you know, I am ready for that half of the room to blow up, you know. And then as a couple of years went by, he relaxed, he got happy, he started getting into art and drawing, and he started being an art teacher. And
that was so cool.
And I watched this guy, you know, a year at a time. So I was thinking about him. He had a lot to do with me thinking about what it's like to come back and adjust. And then I saw Hurt Locker, and it just kind of like triggered all this.
Mm.
So that was a long process to get that book made.
It's incredible. I'm going to take a bit of a left turn. I mean, that was very deep. One thing that I loved, and well, you know, let's take me to my next question. So Francine's grandmother, I'm sorry,
Aunt Libby?
I'm sorry, yeah.
The old lady.
Yeah, the old lady in Motor Girl is yeah. And there were little sprinkles along the way that, like little hints that these were all these characters are kind of living in the same world. But then it became the Terryverse, which I don't know if fans named it that, I think, but that's like, then you'd had Stranger in Paradise 25, and then 5 years, all your characters coming together. Did you always kind of intend for that, or is that something you just kind of thought, hey, this will be fun? Or
right.
I kind of laid the groundwork, and I had a big cast in Stranger in Paradise because the series ran a long time. When I started the second series, Echo, I got about 3/4 of the way in, and I needed some big seismic event to happen in Alaska. Well, basically, I blew up Alaska. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Alaska.
The story had this underground collider, big 26-mile collider is in underground up there in the Alaskan game reserve. No, it's not supposed to be there, so it's a secret. And then there's a problem because of my story, and it creates this seismic event that ripples all the way down the West Coast. And I was trying to think of, like, I need somebody on their balcony in Malibu experiencing this thing coming down the pike. And I thought, well, instead of a stranger, you know what? I bet a couple of my characters from Strangers in Paradise are there on the deck enjoying the sunset, and why not use them? And the minute I thought of that, I realized it's because Echo was happening at the same time period as Strangers in Paradise. It's all in the same America. And then every time I did a story after that, it's like, oh yeah, well, this was just the same time period, the same a year later. And I began putting, there's a couple of Strangers in Paradise characters in every single book I've ever done. Mm-hmm. And if somebody reads one of the other books first and then somebody reads Strangers, they're going to see, oh my gosh, there they are. And they know him for another reason. The way I got that idea was because growing up in my teens and 20s, I read a lot of science fiction books. And my favorite was Robert Heinlein. And, he got about halfway through his career and decided that Lazarus Long, his main character, was going to be the linchpin for all of his books. And he developed the Heinlein verse. It all connected because Lazarus Long could go forward or backward. And so now everything connected. So it didn't matter whether it was Time Enough for Love or The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. It all fit in one timeline for him. And I thought, that's brilliant, I'm going to do that.
It is brilliant. It really, because they all work. Like when I read it, I was like, wow. I mean, yeah, it's seamless. Just
There's
having all
another fear there. There's a writer's fear. To be honest, my fear was that if you just write a bunch of miscellany, it was so hard for fans to attach to you if all your books are different. None of your characters cross over. I like this book. I don't like that one. I like this one. I don't like. I've never even seen those other 12. That kind of thing. Versus if you do one long thing and get anybody likes anything in it, they've got to read it all.
Right.
The people who do miscellany are really rolling the dice with every book. So I really just kind of covered my bet. I wanted to do every genre, but I try to make them connect. There's a golden thread.
It's incredible. I mean, when you think about like something like Rachel Rising, like which I said is horror, like very horror driven. This woman literally rises from the dead. But relate that to Strains of Paradise and Motor Girl, and it's so well done. And then of course that led to Serial. I should mention that as well, which is just like about a serial killer child, which is a really fun read as well.
I want to turn the genre upside down. I mean, if we go to the movies and watch a horror movie, say there's a killer in town, it's going to be that weirdo guy living out in the shed on the edge of town.
Absolutely.
Or the guy from the psych ward and all that. And it's going to be a scary guy looking guy. I think that's kind of tropey. I mean, if we really had a serial killer in town, we would immediately go to the shack outside of town and talk to Lucas, who got out of the psych hospital 2 years ago and has a collection of hatchets, So we would go talk to that guy. But nobody would think to go talk to the 10-year-old girl in the Girl Scout group. What if it was the 10-year-old girl? The least likely subject in town. That's what Agatha Christie would do, I think. And so I would rather take my writing character tips from somebody like Agatha Christie than somebody making 9 versions of the same slasher movie.
Yeah.
He's got a hockey mask. He's got a baseball mask.
Right.
Clown mask. No, it's the little girl. She's standing right behind you with a frying pan and a box of saran wrap, and you're.
I mean, there's also something very creepy about little kids, like with that kind of, they get that look on their face, and like it's something very, you're like, oh my God.
So, there's a side of me that's like a little Avenger. Like one of the things I try to make sure that I do is that the women in my comics, if anybody ever gets, that they win.
Right.
So if somebody's going to try to get beat up in the parking lot or something, my characters come out on top of that. So when it was the little girl, I was so tired of hearing about predators picking on kids that I wanted a kid that if a predator went after her, it was his last mistake. Like a predator gets onto the elevator with her, and what happens inside the elevator is like 10 seconds of the best gore movie you've ever seen, and the doors open and she walks out, and he's the one who got it, So that's as far as I can tell, it's the only time on the planet it's ever happened. I need to balance out all this shit.
Yeah.
predators are like 100 to 1, and Zoe's got to balance it out. You know,
right?
I would like for predators to think twice. If they've ever read one of my books, they would think twice about going after a woman or a kid, because I'm trying to show the women and the kids what you can do. Just grab this, and I will show you where to put it in my story. So that guy never gets up, you know. And there's actually a scene in the new book, Parker Girls, where
I was getting there.
Well, in the last book that came out, there was a guy who has a bodyguard, and bodyguard is, you know, not a nice guy, and he has slugged a Parker girl and thrown her into the pool, and she's down there unconscious, and they're going to let her just sit there on the bottom. She wakes up, and she's got these stiletto heels. And she comes up out of the water like somebody in the Swamp movie, you know. And she puts the stiletto through the bouncer's foot, and then sweeps his feet out from under him, climbs out, and puts the heel that she's wearing. She's still wearing one shoe. Puts that heel through his ear, into his ear, and I don't know why nobody's ever done it before. These kind of things, I have never seen them in a movie. And I'm thinking, I think I'm the first one to put a stiletto into a guy's ear. And he had it coming, so I don't feel bad.
That's the main thing, right?
And the funny part is that, like, not only did it happen in that issue, but it's not finished. We finish it in the next issue.
There's more?
It's stuck, and it turns out it's a $5,000 pair of Italian shoes, and she tells the boyfriend he owes her the money for it and all that. So you can tell that I have this slant to me that you may not find in somebody who's writing the gentler side of, like, oh God, let's just love everybody, let's hug it out. I'm not a hug it out guy. So there's an edge to the stories that makes them different, and I don't know if that's acceptable to everybody, but I don't apologize for it.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. Actually,
you shouldn't apologize.
I'm hoping that it keeps the guy readers involved. If it was just people sitting around the couch every issue talking it out.
It'd be a little boring.
I wouldn't read that either.
Yeah.
But I like it when I flip through my books and every page is different. So I hope that appeals to the people today who need, constant input.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so much out there. But I definitely look forward to every issue. For anybody who's listening and maybe doesn't know, Parker Girls is sort of spins out of Strangers in Paradise. It's sort of the espionage part of it, where Kachu was involved as she was a Parker girl in her youth, sort of, and but these women go around. It's like, I don't know what to compare it to, but
I do.
Okay.
It came from a very famous scandal in 1964, I think. It turned out that there was a Russian spy lady sleeping with one of the British House of Lords.
Oh, okay.
Getting all of his secrets in the bedroom. And her name was Christine Keeler, and it was a very famous scandal. And turned out, she wasn't the only one. So what a clever idea. When during the Cold War, everybody was spies, and that's where you get all the James Bond stuff.
Right.
Well, there was a female version too, and they would infiltrate the lives of men and women and be your confidant, and then just pass it right along to the Kremlin. So when I was doing Strangers in Paradise, I kept saying Kachu had this really bad past that was haunting her. And I was thinking, okay, she went to L.A., and my approach on L.A. was it was the sleaziest spot on earth. There's Bangkok, and then L.A. is even worse. So I was thinking about that, and I remembered this Elton John song. Again, it was my favorite song on the album because it focused on the girl. And it was called All the Young Girls Love Alice. It's on the second LP of Yellow Brick Road. And it's a story about a 16-year-old girl who is being passed around all the women in town as a plaything. So she is a 16-year-old underage sex toy for women in town. All the young girls love Alice. And I thought that was going on in LA in the 60s and 70s a lot. And I thought, what if Kachu gets mixed up with one of those rings that sends these beautiful people out to rich clients in Holmby Hills and Beverly Hills? And she's underage, and that means she costs more. That's how that is. So this really happened, and it's why a lot of people are getting called out for it today. You were a customer.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, that was real. So that was the story. Darcy Parker was this rich lady who had married a billionaire, an old guy, and she let him die off, and she used the money, and she came from a crime family in Japan, and she started this ring of escorts and call guys, call girls. And then, because it was the mob stepped in and controlled the money, she began getting information. Go be, the girlfriend of that person who we need control of for business reasons. And it escalated into like, now this is how we do business. And Kachu rose up through that empire. And all the Parker girls had this tattoo that branded them as belonging to Darcy Parker. So they were everything from just pretty call girls who handed over information to people who could handle any kind of psycho there is out there and give it back. So that is a nasty side, But I needed them to be nasty. You're only as strong as your worst enemy in these comic stories. So that was what was chasing Kachu and what she had to deal with in Strangers in Paradise.
Yeah, well, and it makes for great stories too. I mean, like these women sort of like, it's almost revenge for like what you were saying at the beginning about like they're always kind of, and this is the story where the women are kind of coming back and getting these guys, like the guy with the stiletto in his ear deserved it. And like, all the guys in Parker Girls deserve what they get. So
yeah, and I make a point of just putting them in there. I have nice guy characters once in a while.
No, it's absolutely.
I'll think of one in a minute.
Obviously David.
There's David. And stuff.
Yeah, and what's the
this
character?
Is my way of like, I don't cancel people. I put them in my book.
That's a better way, right? Than like,
I don't want to just ignore them anymore. I actually want to pin them to a wall and just like run buffalo at them.
Well, I think it's working. So we should probably get to the reason you're doing a Kickstarter now. This is not your first one, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you had done one before, but this is.
No.
Here we go. Are you nervous? Are you?
I'm scared shitless. Yes.
Oh my God.
You're a master, sir. You should not be.
I think if I can do it, then you can do it.
Right.
I don't know. I've never done it, so it's brand new and it's an adventure. But we have the encouragement of our friends, and we're having the help of a guy who's done quite a lot of Kickstarters, Pat Shan, who's another creator, wonderful creator. And so, I'm in good hands. I've done everything I can.
I'll go so far as to say that, if not necessarily for Kickstarter, but, you are loudly held up as someone that's really into creator rights, holding on to your books, and you were Kickstarter before there was Kickstarter, before there was any of it, really, in a way, I think. So just and like I heard on another interview you were saying like kind of around the time you were starting Strangers, was you noticed some other people, like the image people, kind of like starting their own thing and holding on to their own thing. And you're in the music business, or you're in a band or something then, and decided to turn it into comics. So I'm in the music business, so that's why I wanted to bring that up.
It's definitely, there it is. There's your guitar and amp right back there. Yeah.
I've had a drawing board and a guitar my whole life.
Amazing.
There's definitely similarities, as far as holding on to the rights to your thing. And I know you sort of came up with like Dave Sim and Jeff Smith and those guys. And there's a famous story. I don't know if we had Gary Wolf on, who was the creator of Roger Rabbit. I don't know if you know, he's one of the only people who's worked with Disney who was allowed to keep the rights to Roger Rabbit. So he can keep writing Roger Rabbit books. But apparently Jeff Smith they invited him into Disney to work out a deal with him. And he said, well, I want to retain the rights. I like Gary Wolf. And they said, no thanks. So, I mean, he gets to do it, but he didn't work at Disney. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible. But here you are. Yeah. So I guess coming off of that with the Kickstarter, you can basically do whatever you want, but the rewards are, we should get to, it's an art book called After Dark. And I know they're not all very naughty, cool. But is it sort of some naughty drawings of yours, of your characters, and some just
hairy
nice
guys in the gym shower?
No. Batman's butt is probably not in there. I don't know.
Right. After Dark.
I have drawn Batman's butt for the internet, and it is extremely hairy. I don't know how. It's a book of pinups and all that. I'm pinup centric, and I loved Gil Elfgren and Jeffrey Jones, and I love the art side of it. And I don't do raunchy. What I do is a situation that you're happily walking into. Your dreams just came true, but she's in control. So I'll show you. Like, I have this on the scanner.
Oh, this is exciting.
Fresh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was on your.
I did this. I showed a pencil of it.
Yeah. What a difficult pose too. I watched your Sunday studio. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I boxed it and did
it's so nice, so beautiful. So. Yeah, I mean that is you are.
I wouldn't mind walking into that in the bed.
Yeah, you're fortunate to walk into that.
We should be so lucky.
I mean, also you challenged yourself with that drawing, which was very cool. It's like very cool to see your process. Yeah, very cool. I loved it.
See, this is what OCD will get you. I wouldn't let it go.
Right.
I was drawing a pose that really wasn't going well, and I just wouldn't let it go. And I refused to go spend 5 hours trying to find a photograph of that. I just thought I know what I'm drawing. I should be able to figure this out. And then next thing you know, I got that. So it was a fight.
But worth it in the end.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I have several of your sketchbooks. If you go to cons and stuff, you can, and you usually have a sketchbook each year. Yeah. And so I'm assuming this is kind of more things like that. I'm very excited.
Yeah, but focusing on, the more the pinup side. And there's also going to be some poetry in there, which are all of my poetry is really just song lyrics. There you go. I took the lyrics from songs that I wrote, and then there's a commentary, like here's the pencil and here's the ink and here's a quick little side note about it. It's not a how to draw or anything like that. It's just kind of 120 pages of my best drawings of beauty.
Yeah, well, you do have how to draw books as well. I guess we should point out that's also a series that you did. And one of them is called How to Draw Beautiful. And there's also How to Draw Women, How to Draw Funny. I mean, like we said, you don't take a break. So you just get it's amazing. But okay, so But for the Kickstarter, do you know there's like a hardcover reward and soft cover, and are there other reward tiers that people can get for donating, or what do you have in mind? Okay.
The main one is soft cover, of course, and a digital version, so you can get the print and the digital. And then there's going to be a hardcover, and that has a different cover image. And then there's an exclusive hardcover that has another image. And those 3 book covers actually show a progression in the evening with Kachun. And if we make our print goal, the printing bill is $20-something thousand. So the goal for this is $29,000. If we make it, then Robin and Pat are going to start unlocking the stretch goals, and they're bloody cool. And I don't have permission to talk about them because
yeah,
cool. No worries.
February 1st, right?
Yeah,
surprise on that. So.
Well, it's all the more incentive for people to donate to get to those stretch goals. But yeah, you did the right thing. You always want to ask for more than you need because Kickstarter takes a little chunk out.
So right. They figured it out. They did that.
That's great.
Printing is so expensive now.
Oh.
And we're printing 3 versions, and but man, it takes a long time to get a book printed now. And the paper is really expensive, as if they're having to go get all of the lumber from Mars or something.
I mean, it's crazy, but yeah, you have been doing this for all these years. And yeah, it's like still, like you said, putting out books consistently yourself. I personally get Parker Grills delivered, and I'm pretty sure like Robin is putting it in the, I had to ask you, a question. I sent a question about because like an issue didn't come in the mail or something, and Robin was the one who writes to me. This isn't like you have this vast operation here. This is
it's
you guys.
It's just
right.
It's just Robin and me and Mike at the warehouse, and these are the same people you would meet, all 3 of us, if you came to our booth table at a con.
Oh yes, I've done that.
So
well.
yeah, it's
always great. Always great.
It's very hands-on. But I mean, my whole career has trained me for Kickstarter. We know how to make a book and get it out.
Yeah,
exactly.
Time.
I'm very excited. Yeah, it's February 1st, which is in a few days from now. Like as we record this, is it run for? Do you know how long it is? Is it
all of February? It is like March 3rd at sometime during the day.
Well, I mean,
it gives you a full month out of that short February month.
Right.
Exactly.
It's funny. My sister's birthday is the 2nd of February, so that's Groundhog Day. So I just wrote her another Groundhog Day related joke in her birthday card. But my mom's name was Robin with a Y too. So
that's right.
I was like looking at that today and like watching your Sunday Studio series, which is great. Love the YouTube channel. That's been so fun.
That's right. We should hype that up too. I once got a free sketch. I don't want to brag, but there was like a trivia question of what you were drawing that day, and I happened to answer it. And I got a nice sketch of Julie from Echo. I'm so happy I have it framed. It's very exciting. A one of a kind,
nice.
sketch of one of a kind Terry Moore. So
that'll be $5, please.
Oh, sure. I can send it to you right now. I know. I feel like I've just been taking and taking from you. Like
I give and I give.
You give and give, and I don't give anything back. So.
He's a hero for women and comics creators, and this is how you treat him.
Nerds like me. Well, I'll try to get back a little bit by hyping up this Kickstarter for you. So everybody who's listening or likes women and comics and a artist who does his own stuff, like, anyone should donate because you're supporting the arts, you're supporting Terry, and you're getting a pretty cool book, it sounds like, out of it. So you saw one of the pages. Yeah, so
I hope so.
We don't want to keep you too long. I thank you so much for coming on. Again, this is like a dream for me. I've always wanted to have Terry Moore on our show. So thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off here, or?
No.
Okay.
I am really grateful for my career. I'm grateful for this chance at Kickstarter, and I'm really grateful to all the people that have supported us over the years and continue to let me do what I love to do, which is draw comics and stories and tell stories. So thank you for my career.
Well,
thank you, sir.
Yeah, on behalf of all your fans everywhere, thank you. You're one of a kind. So thank you very much, Terry Moore, everybody.
I have nice guy characters once in a while.
No, it's absolutely.
I'll think of one in a minute.